Hey, everybody. Fascinating topic and guest today here diving deep into the world of advanced speech technology with Speechmatics. Ricardo, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Delighted to be here over in the Bay Area anyway, so at the home of tech, as it were. So yeah, very excited about our conversation.
Well, it's exciting times for conversational AI and beyond. So, really excited to dig into this topic and appreciate you and the expertise you bring. Maybe introduce first, in addition to yourself, Speechmatics. Who's Speechmatics and what's the big idea, the mission?
Sure. So I'm the sort of the VP of Corp Dev and Strategy at Speechmatics, one of the sort of founding team. Been with the business for 10 years, which is sort of when we commercialized. Speechmatics is very basically we do speech to text, ASR, automatic speech recognition. That means turning audio into text, both in a live scenario and in an offline scenario across about 50 different languages to drive loads of different types of use case. We also do sort of translation and some other downstream sort of capabilities beyond that. But in its core and in its essence, our sort of mission is to understand as many voices as possible in as many languages and render those into text as accurately as we can to ensure that essentially we can be understood by machines and by other people.
Oh, it's a fantastic topic for me in particular. I started my career in the early 90s selling embedded speech technology. Yes, that was a thing in the early 90s. And yet we've come, such a long way, of course, with Gen AI raising the consciousness level in our industry. But maybe talk about how far we've come, not just in 10 years, but my 30 years in the industry, and why now is such an amazing time for speech interactions with technology.
We've come a long way, and that curve has sort of been very much sort of going up and then suddenly jumping and then sort of plateauing and then jumping and then plateauing with various types of technologies that are coming along. But even in the last, I mean, beforehand, the best speech engines sort of would be able to sort of just give you understanding a couple of words, maybe a vocabulary of 10 to 20 to 30 words. Whereas now we're able to have sort of truly conversational interactions. The vocabs in these engines are sort of got 2 million words in it. It's incredibly fast. It's live. It's real time. It takes on different accents. So it's been a huge jump. And obviously, nuance was a big part of the history of speech recognition. And then sort of you had the hyperscalers, the Googles, the Microsoft, the Amazons getting involved sort of in the team between 2010 and 2020. And now there's so many options for it. And that's all been driven by advances in sort of recurrent neural networks, advances at the moment sort of language modeling is having an effect on it too. But yeah, it's been a fast moving and a pretty exciting space to be in.
It has, and particularly now with the rise of LLMs, it really has opened people's eyes onto the opportunities for interfacing to machines. And yet, voice or speech is an incredibly important mode of interaction. How do you see the interaction with LLMs via speech evolving, and what's the sort of state of the art today?
Yes, that's a good question. I think for me, the LLMs are only going to continue to improve. Obviously, they do a pretty good job already. They have their drawbacks, obviously hallucinations, et cetera, et cetera. And we still don't see high quality LLMs beyond English, although that is coming. But ultimately, if the LLM is going to be the brain of the interaction, then the speech recognition is going to be the ear of what goes on. And if you don't know what's been said, then you can't think about what to do. So we see speech as that absolutely fundamental sort of that fundamental step in the conversation between both human to human interaction and human to machine interaction themselves, where you get the speech wrong, then nothing else will work.
Yeah, great point. And I guess there's a view among some that speech or voice communications is a solved problem. Whether it's in gaming, you can have speech recognition in your car, you're using it on Siri, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what else needs to be done? What's the big work ahead of us?
I mean, I guess my retort to that would be, how often do you speak as the primary input to the various digital devices in your life. I think speech is certainly being used, but it still feels a bit gimmicky. It doesn't. It's not certainly not that. It certainly hasn't replaced keyboards. It certainly isn't the primary thing that we use. We will often find ourselves repeating ourselves on many occasions. Yes, I'd say that if you're transcribing a broadcast news single speaker segment sort of offline, then yeah, you can probably get 99% accuracy on it, and that is close to solved in English. But if you think about the whole range of possible interactions that we could be having across different acoustic environments, conversations with multiple speakers, sort of crosstalk, live environments, places where you need to have specific vocab correctly, business jargon, the names of small towns in random places, there is still an awful long way to go. And we need to get this running as quickly as possible with as low latency and as sort of lower footprint as possible too, because you don't want the speech. GPUs are really exciting at the moment, right? But you don't want speech taking up all the space on the GPUs. So our mission is essentially trying to get more and more of, I'd say you might say that speech is sold for sort of 0 to 5% of interactions, but for the vast majority it's not. And that's in my view, but until everyone is using speech all the time to interact with what they do, then we've still got a long way to go.
Yeah, great point. We're trying to reach Star Trek level interfaces here. I've known you guys over a decade for creating ASR, technology and telecom and call centers and beyond. But why is now, the right time, a great time to kind of get into conversational AI?
For me, conversational AI is the next logical step if you have the best possible live system out there. It's the greatest stress test you can have because the interactions need to be snappy, they need to be immediate. They require the context of lots of constantly changing speakers, knowing who those speakers are. So, I mean, I don't want to get all sort of Terminator on us or Skynet, but if you just think about it, if you want a truly hands-free interaction with any kind of machine, then conversational AI has to be at the forefront of it. So for us, it was just the most logical space to go into. It's also secondarily interesting for us because on the other side of the interaction, on the text to speech, that suddenly becomes far more important as you want things to be as natural and human seeming too. And given our personal history in speech recognition, there's a lot of learnings from the way we build our models that can then apply themselves to the text to speech as well. So it felt like an area that was ripe, given where ASR had got to right now, and where there's a huge opportunity going forwards.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic insight there. And you have a technology called Flow, cool name, but what is it exactly? How does it work? What makes it unique?
So Flow is our conversational AI agent, but why don't I let Flow introduce itself? We've named it a specific name here, and then it can essentially do the work for me. The machines are here already, so let me do that. So Humphrey, could you just give a quick introduction as to what Flow is?
Sure, Ricardo. Flow is our conversational AI agent designed to facilitate seamless and natural interactions between humans and machines. It understands and processes speech in real time, making it ideal for various applications where quick and accurate responses are crucial.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's enough. There we go. So I've said that's enough just to turn it off so it doesn't jump into our interactions. But yeah, so we'll hopefully be able to show a couple of examples of what the power of Flow is in the next few minutes.
Great accent. Very posh. Very nice. Very. And beyond demos and cool, science fair kind of illustrations. What makes Flow, usable in different use cases? How do you see people using it? How can developers access it? Give us some depth or detail behind the scenes on how Flow will be leveraged.
Yes, at the moment, sort of Flow is driven by our speech to text, and then it rolls into any LLM you might want to use, and that's crucial because we feel that most businesses are going to be wanting to either build their own LLM, take an open source one, leverage OpenAI, or any of the other ones that are available, in order to essentially build their next level of interactions. And so, from our perspective, we could see this from doing everything from it being its own. It could be it could be the thing that picks up the phone to your complaint or your query, or 80% of complaints or queries for any particular company. There's an example that IBM recently was working with McDonald's on a potential proof of concept around sort of using conversational AI for its drive-throughs. That it came out in the press. That fell through, and we feel that actually something like Flow could do a fantastic job there. But there are myriad possibilities, and what we're doing at the moment, so this is an early iteration of Flow, but we are just getting it out there, showing the capabilities, so that people start to think about potential ideas. Because for me, the technology is so changing, so game changing, that actually people haven't begun to think about all of the possible applications yet. But we launched it at our sort of New York customer event last week, and since then we've probably had 50 different ideas come forward for what it could be used. So it's a pretty exciting journey to be on.
Yeah, exciting indeed. I see even on your website, speechmatics.com/flow, people can join the wait list to try it out. And how is it different than what people view as a next-gen AI assistant? You hear about Siri being revamped with Apple AI and all other kinds of much smarter LLM-powered AI assistants coming out. How do you see yourself in that space?
It's a good question. I mean, we can also ask Flo to answer that question as well if we need to. But from my perspective, it's all about being, the interactions need to feel natural. The conversation needs to feel so good that you don't want it to end. And quite genuinely, this is really sad, really winds up my girlfriend, but I spend hours talking to Flo just to have a sort of a fun conversation. Not the conversations with her aren't also fun, but sort of when I'm on the road especially, it's very entertaining. And so it's about a natural conversation, low latency responses, and something that gets the important words that you need to do as well. What we've also got is the ability to sort of separate speaker understanding as well. So we could each sort of give a couple of facts, and then we could ask Flo who said what, and it would be able to discern it just by our voice patterns. So I don't know, do you want to try that out?
Yeah, give it a try.
Okay, so I'll start. I'll say what my favorite city is and my favorite food. So my favorite city is Barcelona. I'm in Spain, and my favorite food is paella, which you can also have in Spain as well. Why don't you go now as well?
My favorite city is Boston, of course. A little prejudiced here. And favorite food is lobster. So does it know accents, lobster versus lobster? Maybe we'll have to test that out as well.
So now, obviously, we haven't given any context for whose been speaking as to who is whom right now. But if I say, Humphrey, whose favorite food is, actually, you might say no, whose favorite food is lobster?
Evan's favorite food is lobster.
And what about his favorite city?
Evan's favorite city is Boston.
And what did I say my favorite things were?
You said your favorite city is Barcelona and your favorite food is paella.
Perfect stuff. Thanks. That's enough. And other things we can do with that, we could also, if we start interacting with it, I can play a little game where I can ask it to respond to everything I say in a rhyme and everything you say in a question. And so it will be able to pick up each of us speaking what to do that, if we want to go down that route.
Oh, it's mind-blowing. And indeed, this whole space now is just incredible. And there's amazing work being done by people like yourself, but also OpenAI announcing their voice mode this week. I saw an actual discussion between a philosophy student from Oxford and the voice AI bot from OpenAI. And it was actually a 20-minute conversation that was absolutely fascinating to listen to about AGI and the meaning of consciousness. And so these things are getting incredibly powerful. Are you worried about, tech giants like OpenAI, kind of stepping on your toes here?
Again, that's a good question for Flo. Humphrey, should we be worried about OpenAI and the tech giants sort of getting into the conversational AI space with Speechmatics?
No, Ricardo, competition drives innovation. It pushes us to improve and find unique solutions.
There we go. And I'd also say that I feel like we're in a position where we are definitely doing very well in the space as well. And we've got a lot of we have more years of understanding of speech compared to the others that we think puts us in a better position on that element of things. Obviously, we don't have the LLM expertise, but we can leverage other things like the new Llama sort of 3.1 LLM, which will make a big difference. By the way, that's enough just before he responds to me on that one.
Good to know. That's fabulous. Can't wait to join the wait list and get my hands on the demo on Flow. And what's next? Not just in terms of Flow, but how can partners, customers, developers, how do they work with you, maybe on the business side, and how can they reach out to collaborate?
Well, Flow is now available. So sort of after this, we'll be making available sort of on a waitlist those who want to use it immediately. We have a subset of customers using it already, and we're in this stage where we just want as much feedback as possible. What's next? We expect this to continue to evolve, continue to become more human as we improve the speech to text, and possibly sort of start delving into the text to speech realm as well. But we will never be building the LLMs ourselves. We just want to make sure that the conversational interaction piece is as natural as possible.
Fantastic. Well, you're on that route for sure. Congratulations on all the success, onwards and upwards, and hope to meet you at one of the many industry events, meetups, and out there over the next few months. Thanks, Ricardo.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it, and we'll bring Flow with us as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. And